provision. So it was time, that we aligned it with regard to the first change that has been made with regard to the calculation of CRAR. It does not change the calculation of net profit. It only changes the calculation of the capital adequacy. It is a better reflection of the capital that the banks have. Similarly, the second measure that has been announced with regard to the investment fluctuation reserve, that also does not, there has been a, checkered history, if I may say so. It was there, then it was brought, it was withdrawn, then again, it was brought in. This is something which not been there, it's not there in any other jurisdiction, and there was lack of clarity also, with regard to it. And moreover, as I mentioned in my statement, number of prudential regulations that we brought in, we did not feel, that there was a need with regard to it. On the second part of your question, which is perhaps relating to, some of the episodes that we witnessed in some of the private sector banks, I want to assure everyone through the media present over here that the banking system is very resilient, it's very safe, strong. Number of regulations, whether it is relating to conduct, governance, prudence, liquidity, all of them, along with, our supervisory framework, they keep the banking system very healthy and robust. These are episodes. There are, these will, unfortunately, these are bank specific, not even bank specific. These are, these are more, in the nature of, crimes, or in nature of crimes. And while, we have to be vigilant and alert to them, the law enforcement mechanism, obviously, in our country will also take care of these. Not to add anything?
I think it's clear, it's perfectly fine, sir. In terms of these are entity-specific developments, do not pose any systemic risk at this point in time. As we have clarified that as they play out, we deal with them on a bilateral basis as this play out. But as Governor said, that banking system as a whole remains resilient, and we continue to focus on improving the conduct-related matters and governance-related matters. And banks are by and large run on very professional lines. And any material supervisory concerns, as and when it arises, are dealt with on a event-specific basis. If anything requires at a system level or a regulatory tweak, as you were alluding to, that we are not averse to taking such measures, but at this point in time, there is no event that warrants a macroprudential measure or a regulatory tweak. These are episodic. We will handle it on an individual basis.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will now request Ms. Ekta Suri from Zee Business to ask a question. Ekta, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Ekta, आपने बात मान लिया, आपने उनको जो है, you have raised her of the order, huh?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I thought so, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
आप खुद इतना अच्छा हिंदी में बोल रहे हैं, आप इतना अच्छा हिंदी में बोल रहे हैं।
सर नहीं, हिंदी चैनल नीचे आ जाते हैं, फिर वो सारे इंग्लिश वाले ऊपर आ जाते हैं, तो इस बार सच में रिक्वेस्ट सर आपने मान दी। थैंक यू सो मच सर।
आपको ब्रिज को धन्यवाद देना पड़ेगा।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू ब्रिज सर। सर मेरा सवाल सर, अभी हम बात कर रहे थे गवर्नेंस के ऊपर, सर उसके ऊपर है सर। अभी हाल ही में अगर हम फ्रॉड्स को साइड में कर दें, मैं नाम भी लूंगी, कोटक महिंद्रा बैंक या IDFC फर्स्ट, लेकिन अगर हम HDFC बैंक की भी बात करें, इस्तीफे ने बहुत हेडलाइन बनाई, वहां पर साफ लिखा गया कि ये एथिक्स और गवर्नेंस से रिलेटेड मैटर है। लेकिन जब उसके बाद पूछा गया जिन्होंने इस्तीफा दिया, चेयरमैन जी से, तानू जी से, कि क्या इश्यूज हैं, वो खुलकर नहीं, उन्होंने कुछ भी नहीं बताया। यहाँ पर मेरा सवाल ये है, लेकिन हाँ इंटरव्यू में ये जरूर बोला कि मुझसे क्यों पूछे जा रहा है कि क्या इश्यूज है, आप खुद आत्म मंथन कीजिए। यहाँ पर मेरा सवाल ये है कि पैसे की बात पैसे से होती है, लेकिन यहाँ पर आपने इस्तीफा दे दिया, जो शेयर होल्डर है उसको नुकसान हुआ, उसकी शेयर की वैल्यू जो है वो नीचे गिर गई, बैंक का जो कस्टमर है उसके दिमाग में एक बीज बोया गया कि पता नहीं क्या ऐसे एथिक्स और गवर्नेंस वाले इश्यूज चल रहे हैं, मेरा पैसा सेफ है या नहीं है। तो सर अभी जैसे सर ने बोला कि इसके नियम थोड़े हम और सोचेंगे, तो क्या यहाँ पर क्या आरबीआई ने कोई मिनट्स में कोई ऐसी चीज पाई है जिसमें सच में एथिक्स और गवर्नेंस के कोई ऐसे इश्यूज हैं, लेकिन हाँ मीडिया तक नहीं पहुंचे, शेयर होल्डर और कस्टमर तक नहीं पहुंचे? दूसरा, अगर नहीं ऐसा कुछ पाया है तो क्या कोई ऐसा नियम आएगा कि कल को कोई भी बोर्ड से रिलेटेड अगर इस्तीफा डाल रहा है और वो एक वेग भाषा का इस्तेमाल करके वो अगर जाना चाह रहे हैं तो जाए, लेकिन वेग भाषा का इस्तेमाल करके एक कस्टमर के दिमाग में ट्रस्ट का, मिसट्रस्ट का डाउट ना डाले, और दूसरा एक शेयर होल्डर जिसका कोई लेना देना नहीं इमोशन से, उसके शेयर की वैल्यू को गिरा कर ना जाए?
नहीं, जो पहला आपका प्रश्न है, देखिए हमने पहली बात, हम किसी बैंक स्पेसिफिक प्रश्न को हम यहाँ पे उसका उत्तर नहीं देते, लेकिन आपको मालूम है, ये सर्वविदित है, सबको मालूम है कि हमने प्रेस में अपना एक प्रेस नोट दिया था तब, जिसमें हमने ये कहा था कि हमारे हिसाब से कोई भी मटेरियल कंसर्न हमें, चाहे गवर्नेंस या कंडक्ट से संबंधित हो, वो नहीं है। तो उस बात को मैं यहाँ पे दोहराना चाहता हूँ कि कोई भी मटेरियल हमें कभी भी अपने सुपरविजन में या उनके रिकॉर्ड को देख करके ऐसा कोई गवर्नेंस और कंडक्ट से रिलेटेड मैटर हमारे सामने में नहीं आया।
Sir, you say that after seeing the minutes of the, after checking the minutes of the board meetings, or
जनरल जो हमारा सुपरविजन रहता है उसके अंदर में मिनट्स भी देखे जाते हैं, मिनट्स की प्रति भी हमारे पास में आती है, तो उन सबको देखने के बाद में ही ये हमने जो वक्तव्य, जो हमने अपना प्रेस नोटिस जो दिया, प्रेस नोट जो जारी किया, वो सभी चीज़ों को ध्यान में रखने के बाद में ही दिया है। क्या इसके लिए कोई और दिशा निर्देशों में, गाइडलाइंस, डायरेक्शंस में कोई और बदलाव करने की आवश्यकता है? आज के दिन में हमें ऐसा नहीं प्रतीत होता, लेकिन यदि ऐसा महसूस हुआ कि कहीं भी आगे जाकर के कोई बदलाव, कोई नया नियम, निर्देश, सेबी के निर्देश वैसे इस संबंध में आप लोगों को मालूम है पहले से ही हैं, उसके ऊपर यदि कोई और निर्देश की आवश्यकता यदि हुई, महसूस हुई, तो उसके अंदर हम कभी भी पीछे नहीं हटेंगे।
कंटिन्यू वन मोर सर, क्योंकि एक बड़ा बैंक था, आपने स्टेटमेंट भी दी कि यहाँ पर बैंक स्टेबल है, लेकिन अगर कोई छोटा बैंक होता और इस्तीफे के बाद लोग डरकर अपने पैसे विड्रॉ करवाने निकल जाते, तो सर उस समय तो अनस्टेबल सिचुएशन आ जाती। तो मेरा एक ये भी सवाल था कि आपने किसी को भी रिजाइन करना है तो वो रिजाइन कीजिए, लेकिन इमोशंस पर गोलमोल बातें कर वैल्यू गिराना शेयर की, मेरे दिमाग में ये मिसट्रस्ट डालना कि मेरा पैसा सेफ है कि नहीं, सर वो किस हद तक, सर उस पर आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखो, जैसा मैंने कहा, मैं किसी एक स्पेसिफिक बैंक या वक्तव्य के बारे में नहीं कहूँगा। मैं कहूँगा कि जो भी कानून है वो बिल्कुल स्पष्ट कानून है, और उसमें हमें नहीं प्रतीत होता कि आज के दिन में कोई बदलाव की आवश्यकता है। यदि हुई तो निश्चित रूप से हम उसके ऊपर में विचार करें।
धन्यवाद सर. Sir, we'll now take a few questions from the right side. I'll request Sangeeta Mehta from the Economic Times to ask a question. Sangeeta, please.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Sir, what is the crude oil price assumption that RBI has taken to arrive at the inflation projection of 4.6%?
For this year, $85 to a barrel.
For the full year?
For the full year, on an average, $85.
And so
it's now, and next year is, I think, 75. 75.
And sir, how long is your assumption of the crisis to last, West Asia crisis? Because one of the
it's very difficult, there is no, assumption that what feeds into is the price, the price is more important for us, and some of the supplies, some of the critical supplies. So, and the war, actually it is more, the supply disruption. The war, you are aware, that the Ukraine war is going on, but it is having one can't say that it's having no impact, but it's having negligible impact. So what's important is that how long, what are going to be the prices of some of these commodities which are important for us, especially energy, and what is also important is how long, this supply disruption is going to be there. It's very difficult to say. So now there is an announcement that it will be the Strait of Hormuz, for example, will be opened.
Well, because one of the comments, the statement you have said that is if initial supply shock can potentially transform into demand shock over a medium term, if the restoration of supply chain is delayed. So this medium term is referred to what time frame?
This will be many months. Many months. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'll request media participants to please stick to one question so that everyone gets a chance. I'll now request Jasprit Kalra from Thomson Reuters to ask his question. Jasprit, please.
Quick question on the FX side, the measures that were taken. Of course, they have helped stabilize the rupee and the arbitrage positions that you highlighted. In some corners of the market, especially amongst foreign investors, it's also been interpreted as a soft capital control, with more could be coming down the line that could hurt returns. And they've also raised concerns about how it makes it harder for them to hedge their currency exposures in the local market. When you take these measures, what sort of impact assessment is done on that level? And has the RBI reached out to or communicated with any investors to reassure their concerns, or do you plan to do that?
No, see, that's what I just mentioned, that these are specific to the market movements that we observed. These are not structural changes. We stand committed. I'm repeating, I don't have more to add, unfortunately, to what I said, but I'll still repeat, which is that we stand committed to the further deepening, widening of these markets, and the further internationalization of the rupee. These should be seen as actions which help, I would say, in better market development, rather than because this we found, was quite speculative and in some sense, bordering on, speculation, right? So it was more of, speculation leading to, higher volatility. So that's why these measures have been taken. And yes.
Thank you, sir.
Anything?
Yes, these measures have to be seen in the context of this event, this episode, which, as most of you probably know already by now, was leading to disruptive volatility. More importantly, this was leading to a artificial drying up of supply in the market, which was affecting prices. Although the transactions were arbitrage transactions, they were affecting local prices. So our objective of doing this was to cool that phase down. So the long-term commitment still remains to rupee internationalization, to having one global market and all that. On the issue that you raised, whether foreign investors can hedge here, nothing has been done which disables them from hedging. They can all hedge. So those things are also well in place. We will look at how the market responds to this. You would see that we initially just announced that these positions need to be wound down, right? By limiting the position. Then we studied the market behavior, and we understand that in a market, market makers or authorized dealers have privileged position, right? And they behave responsibly. We have seen how much they have added to the depth. Sometimes you get carried away. So we thought an indication should quieten things down. We did not see that. We did not see that. We saw that these positions were, being assigned here and there. So we took the remaining measures to contain those. This is a very, very specific, specific measure that is intended to contain this particular episode.
Thank you, sirs. I will now request Ankur Mishra from ET Now to ask his question. Ankur, please.
So continuing with the same topic, many of the banks have been complaining about MTM losses due to the measure which you had taken. I want to understand when you see particularly when we spoke to the market participants, they also mentioned that till 2020 NDF view was different for Reserve Bank of India and it later got changed. Now, if you're saying this is specifically to arrest the rupee volatility, is it a fair understanding that in very near term, once you can see the currency stabilizing, the limit may be once more revised based on the situation? And also, I mean, the NDF view remains the same from Reserve Bank of India. Also, today you have announced about the IFR requirement of the banks. Wanted a little more elaboration on the thoughts behind that.
So first question, I think, we answered. Only repeat that, this was in response to this particular episode. This is not permanent or structural. So going forward, we'll see how the markets are behaving, and appropriately, a call will be taken at an appropriate time, to review them. Second question, IFR, I'll request Swaminathan, Mr. DG Swaminathan, to throw more light on it. Basically, changes in the investment, like, now the bond yields are very high, and sometimes they can go up, they can go down, and so that has implications for their profitability. Then the banks come back to us saying, please allow us to stagger these losses. So we had come out with the concept of an investment fluctuation reserve, which to some extent, mitigates. But then we feel that it is, the market prices, mark-to-market prices, should be factored in, because that's the correct position of the banks. And so that's why if they price it as per the markets, then the very need of this fluctuation reserve, goes away. You can probably, throw more light on some of the historical details of why this was first introduced, then removed, and then again, it was brought in.
Now, as Governor earlier mentioned, also this had a checkered history. It was introduced under certain context, withdrawn, reintroduced, and there was also a lack of harmony across the bank types. Different banks had different guidelines that were applicable to them. Essentially, it was required or thought to be relevant because it is better to keep some reserves in good time. So this was to be created as a below-the-line appropriation item out of the profits that would have been generated during the year by sale of investments, so that it can be used up when it is necessary. Subsequently, two significant developments. One is that in terms of our capital adequacy norms, guidelines have been completely revamped, and also that, as you are aware, 2 years ago we issued a comprehensive guidelines in terms of valuation and disclosure of valuation of investment book. So having implemented that, this IFR is considered no longer relevant. It does not in any manner change the value at which investment book has to be reflected in the accounting books, and also it does not change the profit calculation in any manner. This was an appropriation item considered no longer relevant in the given circumstances. So has been done away with more in the nature of a simplification. And third thing is that there was also a different level of compliance across the banks. It was not uniformly complied with as well. And there were supervisory observations arising out of difference in compliance levels. So by removing that particular requirement, we are making it a little more easy in terms of complying with the applicable norms. So it's at this point in time considered no longer relevant. Maybe we can offline clarify to you more in detail. No, because this was a below-the-line appropriation item, so it wouldn't have made a significant difference.
It was around 2%.
2%. Requirement was 2%. Yes.
Thank you, sirs. I will now request K. Ramkumar from Hindu Business Line to ask his question. Ramkumar, please.
Thank you. Are you seeing any kind of signs of incipient stress build up in the banking system because of this supply chain disruption, high energy prices, and weak external demand? And another question is about whether the transmission of the earlier rate cuts is complete into the lending rates and deposit rates. Yeah, thank you.
So, insofar as from the bank side, we are not seeing any systemic concerns with regard to their profitability and their health. Yes, there will be pockets, there will be sectors which will be hit because of the present crisis. Again, it will depend on the extent. The government has done a wonderful job as of now in trying to secure these inputs and reduce the supply chain disruptions. It will all depend on, how long this continues. In the meanwhile, you are aware that we have already extended the time limit, from 31st March to 30th January for the longer period of exports proceeds to be repatriated to 450 days. Till 30th June, we have done that. We'll see going forward, but as of now, there is no systemic risk. What is the second question? Transmission, I think this there, in my statement as a footnote perhaps, against 125 basis points, about 90 basis points has been, is the transmission, that we have seen on the lending side. Similarly, on the deposit side, it's more than 100. So there's been good, satisfactory, as I mentioned, transmission.
Thank you, sir. I will request media persons to please stick to one question. I will now request Piyush Shukla from NDTV Profit to ask his question. Piyush, please.
Good afternoon, Governor DGs. Thank you, sir. Sir, one payment bank CEO was jailed and he's been released, and the bank is in transition to SFB. Does this development affect their SFB? We have given an in-principle approval to them. Does this affect that progression? Will the bank have to? Has the bank sought reappointment of the CEO? CEO's reappointment. Has the bank sought that? Also, in terms of the upper layer category of NBFCs, when will be the next list updated, and will Tata Sons be a part of it?
See, specific, regulated entities specific questions, we don't ask. The next list, we are coming up with a framework. We are coming up with a new framework for the NBFCs. Very soon, you should see that. New framework for categorization of NBFCs into upper, middle layer, etc. You'll see.
So just this bank.
Very soon, very quickly we should do it. Hopefully
this payment
month.
bank has received in-principle approval for conversion to SFB since he's a KMP. Just some clarity, sir, whether this affects that.
I'm sorry, specific bank questions we don't answer.
So that draft norm, that will be a draft norm or final circular, that NBFC?
Generally, we do a draft. I mean, this case we will see. We'll take a call.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we'll now take some questions from the left side. I will request Falakna Syed from Deccan Chronicle to ask a question. Falakna, please.
Sir, is this growth assumption of 6.9%, isn't it too optimistic, given that supply chain normalization, especially gas supply, takes quite a long time, and it will have ramifications outside also the supply. Also, the level of oil that we will have will be higher than when the war started. So isn't this growth of projections too optimistic?
No, we don't think, that it is too optimistic. However, we have mentioned that, there are more risks to the downside rather than to the upside, and that would happen primarily, I would say, for the reasons that you are mentioning. If, there is a prolonged disruption in the supplies, which we hope should normalize sooner than later, that can put pressure on the assessment of growth of 6.9%. This is a reduction, in comparison to last year, of about 70 basis points. So it's not small.
Okay. So, can you share data on the last 7 months? 7 months back, you had launched the unclaimed deposits scheme, wherein banks were given a kind of incentive.
We'll give the data. I don't have it, offhand.
Okay.
You have it? You have some data. Why don't you then give it?
So last 7 months, how much amount has come back to the depositors?
There were two events. One is that Aapki Punji Aapka Adhikar scheme, there was campaign for 3 months from October to December by DFS, Government of India, and also RBI. So that led to a lot of unclaimed deposits, being returned to the claimants. And also we have come out with incentive scheme to the banks. So that also helped. It is around the same time. So both these initiatives actually